Hey guys, new season is almost upon us. Charity shootout out the way, next games are the big ones. Opening day of the season. With that coming, I'm going to do my 2026-2027 Premier League prediction. So we're going to start from the bottom up. 20th place, we have Ipswich. Probably won't be a surprise to many of you. Not totally convinced by the appointment of Gary O'Neill. I do think they are going to become one of them yo-yo teams, a bit like Burnley, who just flip-flop between the Prem. I just don't think they're good enough, and they really are lacking goals. In 19th, we're going to have another one of the new boys. It's Hull. With the ambitious owner, I have a feeling the manager will do well to make it to Christmas. They have a very outspoken owner. I'm pretty sure he will make it vocal when he's not happy. It wouldn't surprise me to see Hull go down the route of bringing in a Steve Bruce halfway through the season if they're not happy with results. Ikali, the owner, likes to go on TalkSport and talk a lot. I'm not sure that's good for the Prem or good for his manager. They're spending a lot of money trying to do a lot of signings, but I just don't think they've brought enough in. 18th, probably one of my most controversial picks. Last season, I backed them to get relegated. They nearly did. This season, I think it's going to be a lot worse for them, and that is Nottingham Forest. With Glasner there and Marinakis, that is a recipe for disaster. I just cannot see that relationship working. It would surprise me if Glasner sees the season out. Wouldn't put it past him to be the first manager to be sacked. Maybe some Chelsea bias here with my next pick, but Coventry City. I think they're going to finish 17th. They have enough firepower, I believe. I think to stay in the Prem, you need to score goals, and I do think they do have enough firepower. They're quite exciting. One of the things with Lampard, I remember from Chelsea, defensively, never great. Not many teams are in the Prem now, and I do think he will finally prove that he is capable of cutting it in the Prem, because he's proven at Championship level he can do it. I think this season he's just going to scrape by and keep Coventry in the Premier League, which will be refreshing. Having one of the new boys stay up is good for the league. In 16th place, I'm going for Fulham. I'm worried for Fulham. New manager, inexperience, not made many great signings. Obviously, there's a long way to go in the transfer window still, but they lack a little bit of quality, I believe. I think there's a lot of work to do. Inexperienced manager, just in general. I know he had a little spell at Madrid, but very, very surprise appointment for me. And with that, I think they will just about avoid relegation, but I think it could be a long season for them. Just above Fulham, similar circumstances, a team who have been absolutely torn apart this window, although they have signed some young, exciting players. Not convinced on the appointment of the new manager. I know he's been at Red Bull and there's a lot of hype, etc., but he has been in the Saudi League the last few years. And Newcastle have lost all their best players. I do think it could be a very difficult season on the horizon. Probably likely to still lose some players with Livramento and Hall being rumoured to be available, or it's big teams looking at them. So I do think it might be a mediocre 15th for Newcastle this year. 14th, we have Leeds. I think Leeds have made some good signings. I think they're a steady Premier League team. I don't think they've made any signings that are going to push them on to the outskirts of European qualification, but I think they're strong enough and good enough to stay in the league. In 13th, I've got Brentford. I don't think Thiago will have another season like he had last year. He was fantastic, to be honest, but anyone who's watched him regularly realises that last season was not a fluke. That would be harsh, but he had the Midas touch. I'm not convinced the same will happen again. Credit to Keith Andrews, they've done very well. I think Brentford would take 13th. I can't see them pushing on. I think there was a few teams last year who were slacking. I don't think that will happen again this year. In 12th place this year, could be a surprise. I think some people will have them lower, but I'm going for Crystal Palace. They will have European football this year after winning the Conference League, so I appreciate that can be a distraction. I do think there's an anger at Palace with the Glasner situation, and especially him joining Forest after the stuff that happened between them last year. But I think they have enough Premier League experience. I think they're pretty shrewd in the transfer market now. They make good signings. They get a lot of money in. New manager who he's done very well in France, obviously inexperienced in the Prem, as are many managers this season. However, I think Palace just have enough quality and they will find someone. I think Romain Esse could be in for a big season for them. and they've got some good other young players in that squad. So yeah, I think mid-table will be a good season for them. In 11th, I'm going for Sunderland, who had a really, really good season last season. Qualified for Europe on the last day of the season, of course, after beating Chelsea. We won't get into that. But I do think the European distraction may be a bit too much for that squad. Again, they've made some good signings. The manager's done very well. I think if you are Sunderland fans, a European run and a mid-table Prem finish is a great season. Just to stay in the Prem is the bread and butter. They're going to keep investing. They've got ambitious owners, but I think they could do well in Europe, but mediocre in the Prem. Now, in 10th, I've got Everton. They need to do some business, Everton. Obviously, there's rumours of Ndai and Braithwaite. I think they managed to keep both of them, of them both leaving, but I think they managed to keep both of them. I think mid-table finish for Everton. I think they could maybe push for Europe. I think Moyes is building something there. Again, lots of experience. I do think they just lack that threat up top, but the window is yet to be closed. That takes me to 9th. 9th, I'm going for Brighton. That's kind of where they are. Again, could push for Europe. Young, exciting squad, young manager, always bringing in exciting players. There's players who are going to be better than they were. I thought Baleba had a disappointing season last year. I think his head was turned by Man United. I think they've got some very exciting young players from Minter, Tiari, to Tozis, however you say it. But yeah, they've got a good young squad. Obviously, they've lost Welbeck, but I'm sure they'll just replace him with a young, exciting player that Chelsea will probably buy for 60 million in a few seasons. And that brings me to 8th position. 8th, I believe, will be Bournemouth. I think Areola has laid the foundations there of a very, very, very good team. Krupi's injury is unfortunate, however, could be a blessing in disguise, as I think he would have been on the radar of many top clubs. With that injury, I think he will be at Bournemouth. I think it's a few months, not 100% sure, but they've got another young, exciting team. I think it's important they hold on to Alex Scott, even though my team, Chelsea, are after him. But again, I think it's exciting. New manager, you never really know, but with new managers comes new ideas. A lot of these new managers have come into the Prem, have been a breath of fresh air. Doesn't always work that way. Very interesting to see how this goes. Bournemouth sort of have a new model. They're definitely a progressive team. So yeah, again, they will probably sign a few surprising players who take the Premier League by storm. And have to mention, Ryan looks an absolute superstar. I think it's important they keep hold of him. Moving on to 7th. And this one is where it starts to get tough because I really don't think there's a lot between the top 5 or 6. A team who I do think is just on the outskirts, and mainly because of losing so many key players, is Aston Villa. Rodgers has left, Tielemans has left, Martinez is going to go, Konsa may go, Dini's gone. And I'm not convinced at the moment they've brought in that real quality. I know they got Manzambi, the young lad who was supposed to be going to Newcastle, the young Swiss player. Looks exciting. Garnacho. I think there's a player in Garnacho, but this is his make or break season, so a bit of pressure there. Watkins isn't getting any younger. Have to be excited by Brian Maggio, but he's only 17. So 7th is a good season for Villa. Again, probably get a good European run. Emery is just magic. He seems to manage amazingly well with whatever circumstances are thrown at him. So a solid 7th and a decent European run for Villa. Now 6 is where it gets really interesting and tough. But speaking from experience here, I think Man City might be in for a bit of a disappointing season. From being a Chelsea fan and watching Maresca's team the last 2 years, we get off to a bit of a flyer, come to Christmas and completely the wheels fall off. This year happened, the year before it happened at Leicester. I think this season you can't afford that. I think there's too many teams, Chelsea, Man U, Liverpool, Tottenham and Chelsea without European games who are really going to be racking up them points. And I don't think you can afford to go on a 3, 4, 5 game spell without winning. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen to Man City at Christmas because that's what Maresca does. Now, in 5th place, I have Man United. I think United are doing enough, investing in the squad. I still have doubts about Carrick. I think he could be under pressure pretty quick. That being said, I do think the signings last summer, Premier League proven players, I think Seska will only be better. If De Ligt manages to stay fit, they've brought in a lot of midfielders. I do think they're building a squad capable of maintaining a challenge at the top and also competing on a European front. And now in fourth place, which is quite a jump, it's going to be Spurs. Kind of don't want them to finish fourth, but one game a week. De Zerbi's a fantastic manager. They are spending money. They've been very unlucky with injuries. I do think one game a week, De Zerbi, if he doesn't fall out with people, they will be up there and they will push. I think they'll have a very good season. Now we have it. We're into the top three. This may or may not be controversial, but I do think that Liverpool had a very bad season last year, but they are a very good team with a very, very good squad. I'm excited with Diego Leon, who should be back, Leon, whatever, should be back this season fit. They signed Jeremy Jacquet, who looks exciting. Obviously, Van Dijk is still a bit of a Rolls Royce. Isaac can't be as bad. Wirtz will be better. They still need to sign some players, which I'm pretty sure they will. Iraola's shown that he is a very good manager. He will get Liverpool playing that rock and roll football that Jurgen Klopp had. I kind of reminds me a little bit of Arteta at Arsenal. You had Emery coming after Wenger. It was a massive struggle, but he's the man after the man. I think the same's going to be Maresca. I think Maresca may struggle. Whoever comes after Maresca will succeed. Klopp, Slot. I know Slot won the Prem, but he definitely struggled last year. I do think Iraola might be the man after the man. And that's why I think they will finish third. Now, this is where heart or head, and it's that time of year where you have to be optimistic, you have to be excited. I'm doing it. Arsenal second, Chelsea top. I think Arsenal are still going to be the favourites. I think they've got such a strong squad. I think Guimaraes is a great signing. Not convinced about De Toz's signing. I don't really remember him standing out of Norwich, but, players do go to Belgium, rebuild their careers, do well. I heard he's been exciting pre-season. I think Down will be better. That being said, I do think Arsenal will want to win the Champions League. So, and of course, it's the time of year to be excited. We all know, we've all read it online, we've all seen it. Chelsea, 3 at the back, wing backs, new manager, finished 10th, etc. But not even that. We aren't as bad as the table suggested last year. I think Maresca leaving, bringing in Rafinha, mistake after mistake after mistake. I think we are rectifying the mistakes. We're bringing in good players. And one thing that people forget is up until Christmas last year, we were second favourites for the league. We were battling Arsenal. Season before, again, we were up there. We were battling Liverpool. And we just dropped off at Christmas. And I genuinely believe that's a Maresca thing. Happened at Leicester, happened 2 years in a row. If we don't have that Christmas drop-off under Alonso and we can somehow pick up points over the winter break, we will be up there. So I'm going for it. I think this is the season where Blueco finally get it right. It finally all comes together. One game a week. There'll be an asterisk against it anyway. We only played one game a week, whatever. But I'm going for it. Chelsea are going to win the league. Arsenal are going to be second, especially as they're going to be held back from all these new rule changes and set piece things, etc. So yeah, let me know what you think. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm right. And screenshot this and remember this come May. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.